So let's open it up, Desi. Let's go to the Q&A.
Are you ready for some Facebook first?
Yeah, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna do some of the questions from the group first, and then we'll rock and roll.
Great. Amy on Facebook said the majority of my clients are women in their 30s and 40s. And I have them lifting heavier than they ever have, methodically and gradually, of course. But when I look at your small group training plan, some of the reps are lower than I've been doing. I've done 8, maybe 6 reps, but 3 I have not. Is this a low rep count for everybody? I assume it's less wear and tear on the body because of form and lower reps. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, first of all, there's nothing wrong with doing things like 8 or 6 or anything like that. I think there's a fear of lower reps, but I'll tell you what, most people get injured on higher reps, right? Why? Because their form deteriorates as the set goes on. So for example, barbell back squats for more than 6 or 8, you have to be very, very trained and very good to do that. It's actually safer to do lower reps. It's safer to do 3 to 5. Now, again, most people are not going to push themselves to these crazy reps, right? And that's part of your job as a coach also, is to make sure the reps are looking good, to know when form starts deteriorating. For instance, let's say we have a 3 rep and somebody's going for it and they're pushing it and they just hit their PR and they're like, you know what, I can go more. I'm like, yeah, go for it, right? And they do rep 1 and they start doing rep 2 and I see rep 2 is looking pretty good and they put it back down. I'm stop. Great job. They did 2 good reps because I know the third one was going to be, we just call it, right? But the reality is like, you're never like, to teach somebody how to produce a lot of force, you got to go heavier, right? And then what's even better is because when people go heavier, it's a lot easier for them to coach them up. Listen, I want you to create as much tension, crush that orange, brace, push the floor away slowly. 3 seconds, I don't even want you to lift, and then go after it. You're teaching them tension techniques, which is going to carry over to everything else. So I think you got a lot of potential hiding in those like 2 to 5, 6 reps that you haven't used, that you can start using in block 1. Again, using the right exercises for that. But I think you'll be able to, because again, if they were lifting for 8 reps and the next phase you go for 3 to 4, they're going to lift a heavier load. Lifting a heavier load it's said, right? Specific adaptation of imposed demand. Now lifting these higher loads, having to basically use more of those fast twitch muscle fibers, more muscle is getting used for that each rep, and we're developing strength, right? Because it's strength and resistance training. So we want to move into that strength training more, and people will get better results. Trust me on this one.
Great. This is from Jacob on Facebook. If you do purely men's or women's small groups, which are only 2 times a week, strength camp and StrongHer, for example, is there a difference in the programming? I have all male and all female groups that do 2 times a week. In this case, could you mention what you would do?
I would listen. This model doesn't matter men or women, right? The only differences that may come into play is things like this. Metabolic stress finisher for women, maybe more glutes. Now, I don't know about you. Me personally, I like doing glute training. There's more and more guys that are like, yeah, man, I want to dunk. Good. Like, we'll build it. But for guys, you might have metabolic stress for the arms more or shoulders more, right? Things like that, like core. Everybody likes core, by the way, right? But the rest of it, these are like just principles that are going to work for. If you looked at like our small groups, the strength camp and StrongHer, and still basically principles stay the same, right? There may be small tweaks based on if I have a women's group that goes like, we as a collective, we want to work on this, this, and this. Great. I'm going to make sure that last part, remember what I said, fun plus experience. I'm going to plug in more of those exercises so they leave going like, man, he's hearing me, like we're working on these things. But I'm still going to have block 1 and 2, again, work on those things too, but in a principle-based manner, in a systems-based manner, just the same. I'm not changing much. I'm changing the marketing. That's a different story though.
Good. You're ready for live.
We're ready for live. All right. Let's raise hands, guys, if you have questions. I can't see everybody, so that's why. Okay. Christine.
Hi. Happy Wednesday. It's become my favorite day. I'm sad this is like week 3, but would you say you focus more on movement patterns than body parts? Like, so the
Definitely
squat,
more
lunge, hinge, like, so not necessarily like back or upper, but more focused on the movement pattern? Does that make
Yes,
sense?
but true, but I am not one of those people that goes like, oh, don't train the muscles, train the movement. I think you train both, but I think for systems standards,
Yes.
right here for system standards, it's much easier to use this for a system, like for the glasses to look through, right? The frame
Okay.
to look through. This is easier. Now, let me give you an example of this, okay? If I do a row, I'm going to do a one-arm cable row.
Okay.
Now, I can have a more bodybuilding emphasis to work the lat. My form on that's going to be different, by the way. I'm going to maybe even get a little bit of crunch to the side, turn like supinate my pinky up a little bit, not fully, right? And I'm going to go to the end range of the muscle, not to the end range of the joint. See, now my lat's not working, by the way, right? Here it is. So I'm going to go drive that elbow in and then squeeze. I actually might look like I'm rounding a little bit, by the way, but my lat is getting fried right now, right? And then I'm controlling, and like I've done this with people that are just, all right, I'm doing my regular rows, and we do it like that, and they feel like it's ripping off the bone in a good way. Of course, I'm not going to injure them. They're just like, oh my God, my lats have the greatest pump in the world. Is that wrong? No. Like if I want to build the lat, I might do that. I may go like Meadows rows, right? Hey, we're going to work that upper back. I don't care about the lat as much. That elbow is going to drive up, right? And I want you to drive the elbow, and I want you to retract the shoulder blade. Again, so we're not going into the nuances too much, but the patterns allow me to work that better and go like, hey, last month we were hitting the lat like crazy. All right, let's hit that upper back. Now the elbow is going to go higher. I really want you to retract that shoulder blade, squeeze it, right? A little bit different coaching cues, but nonetheless. So I'm a fan, like, by the way, I'm a fan of bodybuilding, okay? I think bodybuilding is corrective training done right. I really do. Because that's a great question, because it's not either or, it's and.
Okay.
Right. And this is kind of like where if we dive in, I'm telling you, bring a cop, because I'll be here for a week. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, a week is a little bit of time. But again, if you have, this is what I'm talking about. If I got a group of guys in strength camp, no joke. Some guys will be like, man, like, I don't know. They watched something on Joe Rogan and they're like, man, I got to develop my forearms, my upper back. Right. And then we're like, you know what? The next 4 weeks, we have an extra upper back and forearm specialization program. And all of a sudden, my block 3 is like grip work and upper back destruction, right? It's metabolic stress based, for instance, right? But then we're also taking cues, and they're doing that like lat dominant half kneeling row or supported one that I like to do. There's tons of variations, right? And we go through a 4-week phase, and they're like, oh man, that was crazy, right? And again, I'm focusing a little bit more on that bodybuilding part of it. And it's not right or wrong. It still fits the patterns. I can now create a contextual emphasis on what I'm doing.
Okay. It's good. Thank you.
That help? Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Raise your hands. Des is finding you, because I can't see everybody.
Hey there,
Who we got?
Fatu.
Two. I just can't see you.
Hang on.
But I can hear you.
Okay, can you see me?
Des, you can't. I can't though. Oh, there we go. All right, now I can see you.
Okay. So I wanted to know when you teach your clients how to form roll correctly, because you did say that we shouldn't include it into like the training time, obviously, but when do you teach them beforehand, and how do you teach them like properly how to do it and everything?
I think so. In your scenario too, based on what you shared with me last time, I think it really is smart to integrate, especially if you're doing bigger group training. Like if you do small group training or larger group training, it's really good to have an orientation. Okay. We used to pre-COVID, Wednesday, Saturday, we had 2 a week, and there's 4 new people coming in. Boom, they come into orientation Wednesdays at 7, Saturdays at 10. And that's where we teach them, because we teach them our system, right? And basically the system is, so when I went over R7, I would break this down to like, again, a 6-year-old could understand it, and talk about release. Hey, listen, when you're stressed out and you have overactive muscles, they're really tight. And when you foam roll, it helps them relax, and that helps you have better posture. And then when we strength train, you can strengthen those things. And then we take them through. Here's the main, like we're not going to go over everything, but here's the 8 things that we like to work on. And then boom, we hit the quads and we show them pin and stretch techniques, show them calves, show them the different tools that we have. Like, see these 2 little balls that are together? Okay, this is great for upper back here, boom, and it's great for the neck here, the traps here. And so we'll go through that, and then we explain, hey, tomorrow, like I'll literally tell them, tomorrow when you come to class, come in 10 minutes early. I want you to do these things, and I want you to do, you're tight here, do these stretches, and then we're gonna get warmed up together, right? So it's just education, and also constantly reinforcing this. Like, we've had members for, I don't know, like 13 years, 12 years, and I still have to tell them to do stuff, right? Basically like, hey, look, I noticed that you just walked in straight into class, but you were the person that told me that this is bugging you, and I told you to come in and do pails and rails on the neck stuff and da-da-da. Oh man, I got it, 12 years in. So it is a thing. When we went over the structure of the class, that's like, for instance, when I said, start the class with a frame. For example, my story would be this. Guys, I want to share something. This goes for me, it goes for you. To know and not to do is not to know. Now, I'm not going to call out any names, and then I'll look at the person, right? So they'll laugh a little bit. And go like, but this is bugging them. And I explained exactly what to do to make them feel better, but they're still not doing it. And when I say it, they'll say, oh, but I know. Until you don't do, you don't know. Right? So it kind of gives you a really, really good way to constantly have stories to re-engage those people. But orientation, it just becomes like, for instance, because let's say you were going to launch your gym right now, and you had a big campaign, and you're like, you got 50 people that want to start. I'm doing 3 different orientations, 15, 15, 15, and I'm spending an hour, hour and a half on that orientation, where people are in an orientation, they're like, whoa, this is like, I got more value in this orientation than any other gym I ever went to. I've never even gotten into a class, right? And it allows for them to have a frame, because I'll tell you what gives people confidence: systems, right? When you have things like acronyms and frameworks, when I do the whole R7 thing and I draw circles and stuff like that, people are like, yo, this is organized and structured. Like, these people know what the hell they're doing, right? Because if you just come in and you're like, hey, blah, 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 and then they're like, I don't know. It gives them more confidence. And so orientations allow you, so do strategy sessions, but specifically for you, because if you do have even 10 people, 12 people, 15 people, an influx, if you have to do one-on-ones, that's 15 hours in a week versus 1, right? Again, so it's a system thing that will help you teach people much better. It's like a mini seminar.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No? Oh, you know what? There's one of 2 things, guys. It's one of 2 things. Oh, there was one.
Hey, Luca.
Can you hear me?
Here. Hey, question for you regarding.
By the way, I love your backdrop.
Awesome, brother. Thanks. Appreciate
Let's go.
Regarding timing, how much time do you allocate for each block, and how much time do you allocate for teaching the movements to, like for example, deadlifts to somebody who's like totally new to the group or haven't done that?
Okay, so that person, we covered this in week 1, but I'll go over it. So block 1 is 14 minutes. Block 2 is 12. And this is 8 to 10. Warm-ups are 8 to 12 minutes. Now, here's the thing. I have some wiggle room there, right? I got some wiggle room, meaning, but like block 1 could be 15. Say, like, I got a couple minutes, right? I'm teaching. So after I get done with warm-ups, I'm going to spend 3 to 4 minutes max teaching lifts. Now, people are coming into, based on what I just shared, either orientation or strategy sessions, they're going to have a base competency of this because we've taught them, right? So they're not going straight from the street, nothing to the small group. They are going through something. Now, with that said, if somebody's a brand newbie, I will spend more time. Like if you, and I'll take this week, for example. There's one class where there's 2 new people in it. One has done some lifting. It was evident. They've went through a strategy session with a coach. One is very new. Now, what's great about it is I gave them, so when we had a trap bar deadlift, I gave them a kettlebell deadlift, right? It was a decently heavy kettlebell for them, but it was much safer. I coached the hell out of them. Everybody else, and they're in a deadlift section, so I can see everybody doing deadlifts. I'm coaching them up more. I'm spending more time with them, right? And so this is what the skill set, practicing that skill set, you have to do it. And I was mentioning in one of the weekly calls is like, for instance, you shouldn't come in cold turkey into a small group and go like, all right, let me explain the whole training session, and it's going to take you 8 minutes to explain it because everybody's cooled down. So I would practice with a timer, put the timer on 3, 2, 1, and literally go. And I would encourage you to do it in front of a camera and go like, hey guys, listen, today's training session, remember block 1, we're going to work on strength. Our first exercise is a trap bar deadlift, and I'm going to go through it. From there, you're going to superset it with this. From there, you're going to go to here. Here's the things I want you to focus on. Go through it thoroughly, stop, see how long it took you, right? And then practice it to where you get it down to like 4 minutes or under, right? I promise you, it's a skill set. It's a skill set more than anything else. And then again, I always encourage, and I'm like, listen, hey, if you're new, tap me on the shoulder. I'm here to coach you. I'm going to be watching out for you, and I'll be coaching you through it. But never hesitate to ask me a question, because that person, I don't care if they get less sets in that block in. They're new. Like if we can get them 3 to 4 quality sets of reps in, they're winning, right? So there's a couple of things to think about here. One, the times, 14 minutes, 12 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, 8 to 12 minute warm-ups. This, for me, I've dialed it in into an hour or less, right? It's dialed in. It gives me a little bit of wiggle room, but you do have to practice, because we've had, we get new coaches on board, and I take them through this, and they're explaining the warm-ups, and explaining the workout, and it's like 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and it's like, whoa, that's too long. That's okay. Let's practice it, right? Let's get it down to like 4 to 5. And all it is like you'll do it 4 to 5 times, and you know what it'll help you do? It makes you get clearer and conciser with your coaching. Because to be an expert, you say less, right? At the beginning, what did everybody do? What did I do when I was a beginner? All right, guys, let me tell you about the deadlift. Fucking it's 11 fucking minute dissertation, right? And everybody's like, right? I want to train. So it's like, I have to be better at the thing that I'm doing to say less, right? What are the main coaching cues I'm looking for, right? And speaking in a tone where it's like, it's fast, but it's understandable. So this is a practice. I said it in call 2. If you haven't watched it, definitely watch that, the DNA of a world-class training session, because really what it teaches you is like, these are the principles and the frameworks for you to be absolutely excellent at running group sessions, whether it's large or whether it's small, right? Trust me on this, because here's what's happening now. I'll tell you guys, in the industry, this is what's happening, right? It's like, all right, I want to get as many people in the class. Let's go. And it's like, okay, we got the numbers, the money's coming in, but who's practicing the craft of being like a world-class performer? And I mean, performance plus coaching, because then when somebody comes to your session, they leave going like, yo, I did ClassPass, and I did 4 different gyms, ClassPass, but this blew me away. Like nothing could compare to what I just experienced here. Like it was 15 people, but I was getting coached. I was getting taken care of, constantly checked in on. The energy was great. The music was great. The coaching was concise. And the thing is like, they're like, well, I'm going to keep coming here. I feel the difference. There's a contrast, and I get it now. I get why they're $100 more a month. I get why they're $150 more a month, right? Because what you don't want to do is that person to come and go like, oh, the workout made me tired. Music was blasting. Great. It was very similar, but that place is $150 less. That's where they're going to go, right? You got to deliver that value to where there's a distinction. And for that, you got to practice it, and it's worth it. Because as you get better and better and better, I'm telling you, it's like you wake up in the middle of the night, wake me up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., make me run a small group. Dude, you'll feel like I've been up for 10 hours. I got it. It's ingrained. Does that help?
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks. The other question.
Welcome. Can you plug it back in?
All right.
I don't want to cut you off.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that response. The other question I have, like in my training as well, I always put an emphasis on recovery and understanding heart rate, whether or not they have a heart rate monitor or not. I was wondering, do you focus your heart rate recovery in the rebound sessions, or do you incorporate it in your block 3, or how do you go about doing that?
Rebound sessions. Basically, look, we have to understand that, unfortunately, where we are as a country, and honestly the world, is that most people's activity now is training, right? Where people don't do nearly as much activity as they used to 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, this is proven, right? People used to walk more, they used to be more active, they used to do more stuff. Now it's like, my activity is my training for most people. So I don't want to waste any time. Like, I want to get as most bang of the buck stuff done when I have that time with them. So, sometimes depending on what type of business you have to encourage your clients, hey, go for a 30-minute walk every day. Hey, do this recovery work. But we did rebound sessions because we just were like, man, people aren't doing this shit. Let's do a rebound workout so that people come in and do it, because it keeps them accountable. And that's when we do extra mobility work, we do the breathing drills, and we do aerobic capacity work. And we just make it funner. Like, it's not like, hey, go on a bike for 30 minutes. It's like bike, multi-directional sled, weighted step ups, like med ball tosses that are like lower intensity, right? People get a sweat going, they have movement variability. And then at the end, it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going home, I feel better. But I feel like I got something done, but we're helping them recover. So I would either, how can you structure that into another, kind of training session / workout, or you have to teach and educate them. But I wouldn't, if anything, in a recovery section, sometimes if coaches have time, they'll put on some Zen music. Everybody lays down on the ground and just does box breathing for like 5 minutes, which is great. Like, I think that's, if you got 3 to 5 minutes and you can get people to just do 4, 4, 4, 4, hey, you're winning. Like, a lot of times I don't have time in my group session to do that. But if I did, that's the one thing I do. I'd be like, all right, guys, calm down, sit down on the ground. I'd give them a little kind of speech and go lay down. I'd put waterfall music on, right? Like, probably doesn't sound like that, way better than that, but it calms you down. And I'm just going like doing a 4, 4, 4, right? And then I promise you, their heart rate will drop down, they'll relax, their tonality muscles will go down, they'll be more parasympathetic. And it's like, all right, now get your ass out of here, right? So you can again, I think that you can get it done to where you do that if you time it right. But don't spend a lot of your 60 minutes on those things, because, man, like, they, that might be the only time that they actually do activities is when they see you.
Got it. Appreciate it. Thanks, Luca.
Welcome.
This was gold.
You're welcome, man. Cool.
In small group, who changes out the weights, for example, on a trap bar deadlift from client to client on different levels, and who tracks their PRs?
They change. So who changes the weights is like they change their own weights. I will, let me tell you this, make sure you train the people to change their own weights. Do I go around and help? Absolutely. We got a class of 16 to 18, which is kind of like most weeks the norm right now. Like, I'm there helping, especially again, in the trap bar deadlift area. What happens is that people group themselves into, like, if we got 4 trap bars out, I mean, we can have more, but like we usually have 4, they'll group themselves in that load, right? So it's like, oh, that person's doing about what I'm doing. And then it's like just putting on 10s and 5s and 15s. It's not a lot of weight. It's quick, right? It's like, oh, those guys are lifting heavier. That's where I'm at. Boom. So they kind of group themselves into that. But I will say this, you want to get people to be self-sufficient and have autonomy. It's actually healthy for them, right? To not be like, coach, can you change my weights? Right? Like, they're doing it themselves. It's like Formula One, right? Formula One. It's like, right? You time it. And they're tracking their own numbers. And again, like we talked about, whether it's like you want to do 4x6 card where they track it, you have an app where they're putting it in for themselves, which I think is very beneficial for people that like tech stuff. And that's what we're moving to fully. But again, in small, like, you can't, it's a lot harder in semi-private sessions. It's a lot easier to do that in small group. If you have 16 to 20 people, you have to teach people to be self-sufficient and be like, hey, track your stuff, right? And ways to do that. Again, if you have tech, give them that tech. If you have things like Quick Coach that I talked about before, Train Heroic, there's just a lot of different ways that you can do it. But I think that even, again, 4x6 cards where the program's on there and people just write their numbers in, I think that's beneficial too, right? So as they just know, like, hey, this is what I lifted. I'm going for more this week. Remember, block 2, it's kind of locked in, right? They're usually starting with a certain weight, and then we just add a rep, And I'm like, hey, look, I'll go to somebody and go like, hey, that's looking too light for you. I'm gonna keep it real. Bump up the weight, right? And they'll bump it up, and it's like, okay, now you're using 35s and you're going for 12, and next week for 13, and so on and so forth, right? But even at the end of block 1, right? I love our people, man. It's like, all right, guys, block 1, put the weights back. And it's just like, I mean, it's like military. It's great. Right? People get shit done. And that's what a tribe does. You do work. I'm putting stuff away too, but everybody's putting stuff away, and it's like quick. I mean, in 2 minutes, everything's back in their place, and then we're ready to rock in the next thing. So just know this: if you haven't done this before, right? If you're doing small group and you're doing it a certain way, if you're just starting to do it, just know that there's a process. Like, think about yourself as starting as a trainer, or when you started lifting. Certain things were like, man, I don't know how to do this. You'd feel uncomfortable and it would be icky and like, that's how this is. It's not like I'm trying to give you the framework to cut out like 30 steps, right? But you have to practice the skill of these things. Like you have to reinforce the message. That's why week 2 was all about, remember what I said? I'm saying it again to you guys, right? It takes 8 times to even register what somebody's saying, not to remember it, just to register it. So you have to constantly, over and over and over again, talk about your principles, like the rules of engagement in your gym, I would say the laws of the land, essentially, right? This is how we do things here. And you got to keep doing it forever. You're going to say, like, there's no numbers. You do it forever, because the more that you reinforce it and the more that people see it, they start doing it, right? Because I do as everybody else does, as my tribe does. So that's on you as the leader, as a leadership, to make sure that you're doing that over and over again. I promise you, like, there's a lot of, and I can give you my own, I would say downfalls sometimes in the business world or whatever, when the audio doesn't match the video, right? You say, like, here's our rules, and then people watch you and it's like, you're not following your own rules. They don't believe you. So, how to create a culture. Hey, like, the things that you say, make sure that you're doing them over and over and over again. And you live, right? You live that example. You live those values, and it's not just some cool shit that you can write on Instagram. That's another story for another time. But really, I'm telling you guys, like, you got to keep reinforcing that. And at a certain point in time, everybody will operate that way. And it's just the way things are, because that's what culture is. This is how we do things here. All right. Last question.
Hey, it's me again. I just wanted to remind you of the group session that you advised that you might be able to film for us one live, since next week is our last week. And I know this is a small group training, but I wanted to know what your team training structure was and how you incorporate small group training into it. And the last thing would just be, how do you ensure that you don't spread yourself too thin? Because I remember you mentioned when you first started, you used to work tons and tons of hours. Just how do you ensure that you have balance, work life, and all that stuff?
That last one's a great question. All right, first one.
Thanks.
Remember, you guys get lifetime access to this with updates, right? Now, what I mean by updates is, like, I'm going to, do stuff and drop it in there and continue to bring value. I mean, that's been my MO my whole career, and I'm going to continue doing it. So in the next couple of weeks, I can't promise that small group session because I got a bunch of travel and speaking and whatnot, but I will try to get that in there, even if we speed it up or chop it up to where you guys kind of get an idea how to run it. Team training, I'd highly recommend, because there's a whole, like, it's a different conversation. I do have, if you go team training program design, Luca Hocevar on YouTube, there's about a 45-minute, there's actually 2 or 3 videos that I've done on it, breaking it down. Some of them very in-depth, by the way, and also explaining the model of how small group and team training kind of like work together. On the last note, I think this one is very, very important. Balance is a very, very interesting word to me, because nobody can actually answer what it is. And here, I'll explain it like this. If you love what you do, you need less rest. And what I mean by that, is I know that there's 6 hours a day of doing something that would wipe me out. And I still many days do 15 hours a day. And for anybody that knows me, I'm a little bit of a maniac, or a lot bit of a maniac, but I won't be as exhausted because I'm loving what I'm doing, and as cliche as this sounds, but purpose and passion. Now, with that said, you do need to have, you got to figure yourself out and figure out like, hey, what do I need to be able to continue to have energy for my business and my clients? At the beginning of your career, though, I'll say this: create a different frame. At the beginning, you're building your capacity. So when people are like, dude, how can you be, you're 41, but you're doing all this and you're doing all that? I'm like, it's just like weightlifting, right? There's physical weightlifting, there's emotional weightlifting, there's mental weightlifting, there's, I would say, mental, emotional, and physical capacity. So if I have more cardio, like I build my cardiac engine, I'm going to be less tired. If I'm stronger, right, I'm going to be able to do more stuff for longer than somebody else. But also mental capacity is like, people get fatigued after 3 hours of work. And some people have built their capacity up to where they can go longer and be more focused. And at the beginning, you will do more and just be prepared for it. Now, your goal is to create leverage, okay? There's a great book actually that just came out by Dan Martell called Buy Back Your Time. Excellent. And I mean, I'm rereading through it again because you're continuously going to buy back your time. And what that means is that you will find the things that you're absolutely the best at and only you can do, which tends to be at the beginning of your career, it's like that might be 70%. But as you keep building, it'll only be 5 to 10%, right? But again, it takes time for you to even figure that out. What's the 5 to 10% of things only you can do, nobody else can do? The rest of it, delegate, outsource, build teams, right? Automate from, like I said, technology helps us do a lot of these things. But I will say this: what is the skill set? I've been coaching for 18 years, like I'm longer than that, to be honest with you. I've been lifting weights since I was 13, but officially coaching for 18 with a gym for 16. I'm still developing my skill sets as a coach. I don't go home and go like, yep, I made it. I'm studying courses every day. I bring in, some of the best in the world to do in-staffs and seminars. And like, I go and speak around the world on different topics. So I'm continuously developing, because what is my 5 to 10%? I'm going to do that until I die, right? I'm going to continue to develop those skill sets till I die. But there's probably things that you can quickly outsource. For example, even if you're a coach, if you're a gym owner, admin work, billing, right? The truth is those are not usually your strong points. They zap you. But there's somebody that's killing it. Like, they like doing that, and they're 10 times faster than you are at it, right? Creating websites, creating back-end stuff. Like, I mean, I know how to do it. I used to do a lot of these things. It's just, I don't enjoy it. I like the strategy and the marketing, but I don't enjoy doing that work. But there's people that are like, oh, I love that shit. Great, right? They'll do it faster than you, and they'll do it for less because your hour is worth more. So as you go through your career, I would just say, and remember, this is a process. So it's like little by little, you end up, I would say, giving away, delegating certain things, automating, again, CRM systems, things like that. They're all there to help you out. And all you got to do is, and I say all you got to do, as if it's simple. It's simple, but it's hard. Is think of it in like a bridge, okay? You know how people say like entrepreneurship is like you jump into this chasm and you kind of build stuff on the way down? That's not true. What you're doing is you're building one step over the next one, and you build a bridge to the other side, right? And don't focus on the whole like pit in the chasm. Think about the next step. That's it. Do the next step, move to the next step. And that makes it doable, and you'll get there way faster. So that was a longer answer to that question, but hopefully it gave you some insight.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, and just like that, look at that, 157. I thought we were just getting started. With that said, hey, listen, as always, I want to make sure when you implement this, because the thing is, when you practice it, if you spent like a couple hours this weekend practicing making programs, you'll be like, holy shit, in 2 hours, I made 6 months worth of programming, and it's awesome. Thank you very much. No need to do programming for 6 months because you just did it, but you got to practice it, and then you'll get good at it, right? If you have a team, teach it to your team ASAP, because the best way to learn is to teach. Like, I'm getting better right now, because guess what? I could do this off the top of my dome, but it's like if I prep and I got like a little journal that I came in with, and I got all these notes, because I went over a bunch of hours of different, my past notes and videos and stuff like that. Like, I'm preparing, right? I talked about preparation last time, and it makes me better, and it makes me more skilled at explaining it. And so you go do the same to somebody else, and then you'll get better at it. Okay. So put it into play, put it into action. as always, guys, it's my honor. I appreciate and love you for being here, because you could be anywhere else and you're investing in yourself to get better. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And because of that, I know you're going to be better, and you're on this trajectory on the way up in this industry and a career. So appreciate you guys. Peace out, my friends. Give me a big wave. Also, we're going to drop something in a Facebook group. I got a couple questions for you. And if you haven't left a review, means the world to me if you go leave a review on the site, because it does help. And I want to see what other people see what you're getting out of it, so they can get that out of it as well. Thank you. Have a great rest of the week. There's half a week to go. Crush it.